În 2001 am avut un eveniment care a schimbat lumea. După 8 ani de zile, într-o carte, citim astăzi o carte care se numește în limba română Mitul. Citim astăzi că după 8 ani de zile de la evenimentele respective, oamenii au început să-și dea seama care este adevărata natura evenimentelor. Mă refer aici la evenimentele din septembrie 2001, când s-a comis un atac terorist asupra Americii. La câțiva ani după aceste atacuri teroriste, Roberto Quaglia s-a apucat să scrie o carte. De ce s-a întâmplat lucrul ăsta?
When I started to write this book, actually it was 2003. When I was writing this book in 2003, I was the only person in my knowledge in Italy to actually try to expose the truth of the events, and especially to expose the fact that the official version of this very important fact was completely without any base. At that time, the real reason why I started to write this book was because for not getting mad, because I couldn't speak to anyone of what I was understanding and discovering, because everybody was just thinking that I'm stupid and a conspiracy nut, like they say in America. So I said, okay, if I can't talk to anyone, then I will talk, through the middle of the book. Since I'm a writer and I wrote a lot of books, I said I will do it with a book. Meanwhile, other people did similar things in different places of the world, so that actually the truth about September 11 has started to spread. And it's a big paradigm shift, because more and more people, especially from the young generations, realize that the official version has no logical basement, and the alternative versions are more credible. Exactly. So this was what has led me to write the book at that time. Of course, since it was very difficult to publish it and there has been problems in that sense, I had a lot of time to expand the book. So actually it has become a very big and full book, complete book, just because of the difficulties to find a publisher at that time.
Ok, de ce a fost greu să găsești un editor în perioada aia? Ce s-a întâmplat de fapt?
Well, let's not go into the details, but you can be sure that things happened that blocked this book for several years. And then it came out, so has been published in Italy and has been a success.
2005.
2005 or 2006, now I don't remember.
Ok. Care a fost reacția oamenilor când cum au primit cartea?
Well, the people who read the book has had very, very good reviews of my book in Italy, or they shut up. So that actually, if it is politically problematic for them, they wouldn't simply speak about that. I didn't find practically a single person who was speaking bad about my book, because the people who wanted to demolish my book, they just tried to ignore it, because it was very difficult to demolish evidently.
Ok. În carte ai foarte multe surse și găsești foarte multe documente, trimiteri către documente. Totuși, cartea nu este o înșirare de documente, ci este o viziune proprie asupra unei conspirații. Nu? Până la urmă, tu creezi niște scenarii posibile și le rezolvi într-un anumit fel. Despre ce e vorba?
Yes, because actually I'm not a journalist, and I am a writer, and a writer of fiction. So actually I am used to entertain the people when I write. So I could not write a boring journalistic book with only the facts. There are too many facts. Only in my book there are more than 1,000 quotes of documents that everybody can check on the internet. so to see the accuracy of what I say. However, books like these ones, usually, they are very, very heavy because you need 1 year of life to read it and to check all the information. So I wanted to avoid this pain to the readers. So I took all the pain on myself, actually. I had a few very difficult years to write this book. But then I choose, just to go beyond the facts. I mean, I just use the facts, takes the facts, quote the facts, give reference to the facts, but then I create, a story, which connects all these facts. And actually, what I do is, to explore alternative explanations, because, reality does not really exist. This is, it's very naive and superficial to think that something like reality exists. We have facts and we have narrations about reality. So what I did in this book is just to create a narration using the facts that I discovered that everybody can check. And this narration that I developed is much more credible than the narration that the official government issued. Actually, if you know the facts and you can check them, and then you see the official version, you see that it doesn't stand. It's completely unbelievable. My narration must not necessarily be true, but it's much more credible. So since I know that we are talking about representation, so about narration, so about statistically probable visions of the facts, then I allowed myself, also some different representations. So I didn't say this happened for sure. I said, okay, this is one of the possibilities, or it is this another possibilities. And also about the judgments, I didn't want, to say this is good and this is bad. I'm not the Pope. I cannot reveal the truth. I cannot say distinguish for everybody what's moral from what's immoral. So actually, I just also presented a set of possibilities about what can be good and what can be bad, but according to a lot of different points of view. So actually, even the point of view of the people who actually really did the 9/11 has been considered. Maybe they were right. I don't know. But I wanted, to put all the points of view. So actually, everybody can choose the judgment that more fits to their nature.
Ok, totuși în carte ai încercat să faci mai mult. Titlul cărții sau partea esențială a titlului spune un lucru, mitul, the myth.
Yes.
Și ai vorbit și sociologic și din alte puncte de vedere despre mit.
Yes, this is true, because actually, it doesn't matter if you believe or you don't believe in the September 11 official version. One thing is sure, that this event has been transformed into a myth. A myth, it's something which is in the foundation, of a new world. Actually, we really live in a post-September 11 world. It doesn't matter of what you believe or you don't believe. Everything is really different after this event. And so this event has been transformed into a myth. Is the myth based on something real? Is the myth completely hallucinatory? This is what you will discover reading this book. But the important thing is that the reality has gone lost very soon in this process. And whatever we are talking about now, we are only talking about the myth of what happened, And this myth will survive for a long time, and you will have people believing in one aspect of the myth, or other people, exposing the myth for what it is, and believing in another thing. But
Ok, totuși mitul creat ne-a schimbat viața.
Absolut.
Fiecăruia dintre noi. Până la urmă a creat o altă realitate în care noi trebuie să trăim. Totuși știind că este un mit în spate, noi putem să mai trăim în mod normal? Putem să trăim normal?
This is a very deep question, and I don't know which is the answer. Because now we have two parts of the world. The world which believes in the official version of the facts, so completely believes the myth, and the people who recognize the myth for what it is, just a myth, and they live in a different world. This dichotomy has already been even noticed by the mainstream. There has been an article on the Times, you know, about this fact. Of course, they consider the people who challenge the official versions like crazy people. But they recognize the fact that there are now two worlds, you know, two publics, you know. One of the public believes one thing and one of the public believes another thing. It's like a schisma in a big religion, in a big faith, you know. And this is a real problem, you know, because actually we can live in a society if we share the same beliefs regarding the essential issues, you know. But this, which is an essential issue, has now the world divided, you know, in two different groups which believe completely opposite things.
Schisma asta s-a produs și în America?
Yes, s-a produs și in America. But in America, it's more dramatic, actually, because the people who believe in the official version are much more emotional and eventually aggressive against the people who does not. So this could even lead to a kind of fractal civil war in America. And I mean fractal because actually you don't have an Euclidean separation between the two parts, like the north against the south, or the west against the east, or the black against the white, but only about the people who believe in one myth and the people who believe in another version of the facts. So actually inside a family itself, you know, you could have a kind of civil war if somebody believes, you know, in the official version and somebody absolutely doesn't, because the implication of the fact that the official version is completely rubbish are amazing, are horrible, are very, very dramatic. For us, we are a spectator from outside. We are part of the American empire, we want it or not, but only marginally. We are not in the core of the problem. We don't feel so emotional about what has happened, you know. So we don't feel so much committed to protect, you know, a vision of the world that we have. The more we go away from the center of the empire, the less the pain the people have, you know, to discover the truth. So the easier they discover it, and the less it can lead to this kind of very strong social fightings, like in America.
Ok, după 8 ani de zile de la evenimente, trăim alte evenimente la fel de dramatice. E vorba de criza mondială. Cum crezi că se leagă toate lucrurile astea? Crezi că în clipa de față se creează un alt mit în ceea ce privește banii, în ceea ce privește în general partea financiară a lumii?
Well, the real point is that we are discovering that the money does not exist. And we do it dramatically fast. The money does not exist. These are just numbers inside computers.
Tu spui în cartea ta că nici democrația nu există, nici presa liberă nu mai există, deci toate sunt de fapt niște mituri care se leagă.
Yes, it's there is a big gap between the reality that we would like to exist and the reality which exists. And this is a dramatic truth for the West. You know, how did the communist dictatorship disappear? They disappeared because there was a big gap between the theory and the reality. So at one point, you know, it became clear that this gap was simply too big, and the system dissolved itself into nothing. The real problem is that now we are facing a similar destiny in the West, in the Western world, because all the founding principles, you know, of the Western society has recently come up to be a myth. It's very, very bad, actually. It's a path that I went through myself with pain, you know, because I had certain beliefs myself, you know, in the democratic values of the West. Actually, I still have the theoretical beliefs, you know, on this, but now I realize that there is no link between the theory and the reality. So actually it is a myth. So actually the democracy does not exist in the sense that politicians are not really anymore in the position to decide things, actually. now we are going with the Lisbona Treaty, we will go into a kind of Europe where the bureaucrats will decide what has to be done and not done, and the governments of the single countries will have only the choice to ratify what the bureaucrats will decide. But who has elected the bureaucrats? I mean, you don't think that they are there for just because they won a lottery. I mean, they are obeying also to some powers, but you don't know which powers. So this is one of the destiny that could face Europe. Then we have the free press. Well, I could make you a big list, you know, of journalists who has lost their job because they were writing the truth. If the truth is really not convenient, you lose your job. This is not so much different from the previous Soviet dictatorial system, you know. And of course, you don't learn about that because the journalism itself is not investigating these abuses of the journalism, so it's completely hidden. But then you watch TV and you fill your mind with Big Brother reality shows and other stuff, and of course you have the sensation that everything is free, everything is beautiful. But now we are arriving to the really drama of finding out that even the money does not exist. And now this is something very real. Because if we say that democracy does not exist, this is an abstract concept. After all, most of the people don't have really dangerous ideas to expose so that they risk something. But everybody has money, or they are convinced to have money. But now this money is disappearing from the banks because the banks are collapsing. And even if they are nationalized or saved by the state, you know, this is just only words. This is bullshit. It has absolutely no background. I mean, the state is not God, is not a divinity. It cannot create value. So actually, all what the state does, you know, to save the banks, to nationalize the banks, is just only theater. It's cosmetic, because where does the country take the money from to save the banks? It can take it only from the people. But how can it take it from the people if the people have the money in the banks and this money does not exist? So actually, you see, it's a completely nightmare scenario in which everything is collapsing. And on the other side, you don't find this information in the free democratic press. And I can understand why, because actually I can allow to say myself these things because I don't have an impact on reality. But if you would hear this information on the Stierile, on the TV, then people would run to the banks and take the money out, and the system would collapse overnight because this money does not exist. So I understand why they lie. They have no other choice.
Crezi că scenariul ăsta, până la urmă, o să ducă la distrugerea societății occidentale, așa cum o cunoaștem?
I hope not, but I'm afraid yes.
În situația asta ce facem?
Ce facem is very difficult to say. Actually, there is no kind of receipt, there is no kind of experience, you know, because it's very easy to say what to do if there is an experience, but what is happening now has never happened in the last 100 years, and somebody says even in the last 300 years. So actually it's
Este timpul să creăm o altă societate, să ne gândim să facem altceva?
I think that the main issue very soon it will be just to survive for each of one. So actually I think that Romania is in good position relatively because it has not lost their roots in the countryside. Most of the people has still parents in the countryside with some place where to put some food, because the real problem is that when the system collapses, you know, if you have a completely centralized system of distribution of the food, people may start to starve, you know, because if there is something that blocks the mechanism, food disappears. We are used to find food magically in the shops, but this magic, I mean, only works when the system works. When the system disintegrates, the food will disappear. And so you will have eventually to grow your own food during the transition phase between one kind of society and the next one. Because of course, mankind will reorganize itself and our society will survive perfectly and so on. But the transition phase is a really critical moment in which people will have to suffer, and unfortunately people also will die worldwide because of that.
Ok, tu ești scriitor de science fiction. Așa te cunoaște publicul din România în principal.
Și eu mă cunosc așa.
Ok, și tu te recunoști așa. Haideți să încercăm un scenariu. Pentru că în Zeitgeist, în filmul Zeitgeist, ai văzut că în partea a doua cineva vine cu o soluție. Ce părere ai despre soluția aia? Și dacă putem să ne ducem către o societate super tehnologizată care să facă munca, roboții să intre și să facă munca pentru noi, iar noi să stăm să contemplăm lumea, să gândim, să facem... Este viabilă soluția propusă în Zeitgeist?
Este viabile, but there is only one little but. They just forget about the 6 billion people, the fucking 6 billion people that exist, which has no place in this solution that they propose, because this solution which they propose, which is beautiful, I like to dream about that myself, has only one little but, that it cannot really work for 6 billion of people. And they didn't say how these 6 billion people will disappear, because actually this solution works only if you have 1 billion people, maybe 2 billion people. A super technological society works, but it cannot work for so many people. So there's this little but that I don't know. I hope that there will be not an aviar flu epidemic out of control that will solve the problem, allowing the remaining billion people to live beautifully. Unless, of course, we are one of the elected that will survive. But so actually the system is beautiful, but it can only work for an elite, you know, of very lucky people. It's a dream world. I hope this will become true. I don't know how to solve the superpopulation problem, which they didn't consider.
Ok, haideți să ne gândim în felul următor. Explozia bombei nucleare în Japonia, la sfârșitul celui de-al doilea război mondial, a transformat Japonia într-o țară post-apocaliptică. Cel puțin așa consideră japonezii. Că din momentul ăla, ei fiind și o țară izolată, ei trăiesc într-o țară post-apocaliptică. Un scenariu bine cunoscut în science fiction. Putem să considerăm că după 11 septembrie toată lumea trăiește pe un pământ post-apocaliptic? Putem considera 9-11 septembrie ca un eveniment apocaliptic?
No, because it is not an evenement. It is only a media representation. It's only theater. It was staged up. It's not real. It's only in our brains. I mean, they did it so that we should live in a pseudo-apocalyptic scenario, but it's completely not working. And the real point is that what we are facing now is a real catastrophe triggered by the financial meltdown and with economical catastrophe and depression which will hit the world, and it's already starting. And this can be a real catastrophe. Catastrophes are very useful for mankind. They're very unpleasant. I don't like to live in a catastrophe, and I hope I will not suffer in that, and I hope that most of the people will not suffer in that, even though this doesn't make a real sense. From the abstract point of view, catastrophes are very useful because actually they take you back to reality. The really illness of modern society, of the modern Western society, is the big and wider, every year wider gap between reality and what the people imagine reality to be. So this completely madness about politically correctness and this abuse of the individual rights, which I mean, every two seconds a new individual right is invented, and the people forget that the duties. They find the new rights and they forget all the old duties. So actually, it's the system is getting completely sick. So a catastrophe will be very useful to bring back mankind to the real thing. it's very sad to say, but sometimes you need a big war, you need a big catastrophe in order, to understand which are the real values in life, the real things. I mean, because these people now, I mean, in Romania it's not that bad yet, but in the West, I always say that you judge the people from the quality of their dreams. And if you look through history, you can find a lot of dreams that has inspired poets and historians, to tell about them. But if you look now, you find that in Italy, the main dream of the common ordinary person is to become a star in a reality show. So, which is becoming important for no reason in special. I mean, I can understand becoming famous because of being a big actor, a big singer. I mean, somebody who does something. But now the paradigm of the Western decadent society is to become famous for no reason. So actually the dream is that. And this is a completely sick society, which the catastrophe will partially heal, unfortunately at the cost of a lot of pain and sufferings and deaths.
Internetul ajută exact la ce spui tu. Ajută să transforme oamenii obișnuiți, care nu au neapărat merite extraordinare, în vedete.
Well, internet is just one of the tools. Internet has some positive things. Actually, it's the only still positive thing which exists, because it's one of the only fields of expression where people actually can still express themselves and communicate directly. I will put down the internet so much. Of course, the background noise on the internet has become extremely big, so that actually it becomes more and more difficult finding interesting things. I remember I saw the internet being born, and at the beginning it was really enthusiastic, and practically you could find only interesting things on the internet. Now, to find interesting things, it becomes more and more difficult. You have to have to be kind of a rabdomant, and to be able to find things which are so much hidden in the growing background noise of bullshit, But anyway, it's still a very positive thing. I hope really the internet will survive, because people who are trying, to shut down democracy worldwide actually don't like the internet, and they are trying for all this myth, of pedophily also has now been created in order to have a very powerful excuse, to break down on people that you don't like, so everybody now can be, this is like the Inquisition in the past, you just say he's an heretical, you did in the past, and now you say he's a pedophile. It doesn't matter if it is true or not, and then you can knock down anyone with this excuse. So with the internet, they will probably try to shut it down, because it's the last environment in which some free expression is still possible.
Ok, în ediția pentru limba română a cărții tale, sau pentru ediția în limba română, ai scris un capitol special. Ai surprins exact momentul instalării noului președinte american, primul președinte de culoare american, și în textul respectiv te-ai arătat cât de cât entuziasmat de faptul că un om ar putea să schimbe imaginea Americii și imaginea întregii situații. Vreau să comentezi puțin alegerea lui Obama.
Yes, alegerea lui Obama has been a wonderful marketing operation by the United States. So much, actually, the Bush administration has destroyed completely the image of America worldwide, so that actually now Obama has been seen like the new messiah, the person which actually will end all the unjust things and take back America on the good trade. What can I say on that? It's too early to draw some consequences, to understand what will be his policy. I don't know. If he has balls, he could make a revolution. I mean, from inside the system, a kind of perestroika like Gorbachev did in the Soviet system, and reconstruct and restructure, you know, the rotten American system of the last periods. I don't know if he will have these balls, because people who have these balls can easily get killed, and we know Kennedy having been killed, and for sure not by Oswald. So more likely it's just only, and I'm unhappy to say it, I hope I'm wrong, a marketing operation in which they just branded America again in a way that people, you know, can again think there is an American dream. I hope I'm wrong. I'm afraid we will soon awake from this ecstasy, you know, that the Obama election has produced worldwide. You know, he has already increased the budget for Afghanistan, as far as I heard. So actually, on one side he pulls back soldiers from Iraq, but then he just put them in another place. I mean, there is not. I don't think that there will be a real substantial change in American policies, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope actually that he will change something in the.
Ai fost mirat în carte de asemănarea dintre numele lui Obama, numele președintelui american, și cel care este considerat în clipa de față teroristul numărul 1, Osama Bin Laden. La fel ai fost mirat și de numele vicepreședintelui, care împreună cu președintele formează un tandem foarte interesant, ca și semantică.
Yeah. This is absolutely true. Not even Salvador Dali could have ever imagined something like that. I mean, whoever have heard the name Obama until now? It's a new name. I mean, it's not like Roberto, like Sorin, like Florin. There are names that a lot of people have. Obama is very unusual. In America, people are called John, Jim, Jack, Obama. Whoever heard the name. And Osama is another name. Who has ever known an Osama? So, George. Yeah. So, we have Obama and Osama. Two completely improbable names, very unlikely. And then suddenly you have them in the main roles of this new battle between good and evil, you know. Obama against Osama. It's only one consonant of difference, you know. So I think that it's very, very unlikely to happen spontaneously. I don't know, either there is a very humoristic guy up there, you know, in the skies, you know, who has just wanted to entertain us with something like that, or give us some signals, or, you know, something. I mean, there is a very strange screenplayer, you know, behind all these events. But then I was thinking, okay, it's just a coincidence. It cannot be another explanation. I'm too paranoid. But then, look, it comes the vice president, and the vice president, which is his name, Biden. So you have Bin Laden and Biden. Biden is just the same name as Bin Laden. You just take away the central part of the name. So you have Biden, Bin Laden. So you have Osama and Biden against Osama Bin Laden. I mean, this is such a geometry of improbability that I'm amused and amazed and filled with mystery and suspicion about that. I mean, how can you remain indifferent about, you know, these incredible things of coincidence? It's like, you know, somebody with a very, very peculiar sense of humor behind the lines is just saying, okay, we control everything. Let's also mock the people that we rule, you know, with using these fantasy names that looks like coming out from a cartoon.
Totuși sunt oameni reali.
The oameni are reali, but the names are so unreal that I ask myself, what does it mean? Which are the implications? There must be some implication. It's a mystery. I love mysteries. I don't have the answer, but there must be an answer.
Ok. Se pare că nu toți americanii cred în versiunile oficiale sau în versiunea oficială a evenimentelor de la 11 septembrie. Imigranții noi, imigranții care vin acum în America sau care au venit până în septembrie 2001, cam din anii 70, au fost influențați mai mult decât cei care sunt americanii vechi, care trăiesc de foarte multă vreme în America.
Asta se explică ușor. Because if you, it depends how much you have invested in a choice. So actually people who has emigrated to America, they have invested very much in this change. And the more you invest in something, the more you protect your investment. So if you have invested in changing completely your life, emigrating to a country where everything should be perfect, then you are less, you know, ready to challenge, you know, your choice and realize that actually it was just an illusion. This is actually a big problem for the whole world, because we want it or not, we are all Americans. It's like when Kennedy said in Berlin, "Ich bin ein Berliner." Now we can all say we are all Americans. We cannot avoid it. We watch American movies from the early morning to the late evening since we are born. So we are partially American. Not completely American, but partially American. However, this so actually for this reason actually we talk also so much about what's going on there. You know, if the same things are happening in China, we don't really get involved so much, at least not emotionally, because we don't feel it as something ours. But America, it's also ours because we are theirs. So it's reciprocal. We are part of the same system. The real problem is that actually now America is a beautiful dream. There is an American dream, it's true, it's beautiful. In theory, America, it's wonderful. The problem is that now we are facing the dark side of this dream, you know. I mean, dark side of the dream is a nightmare. And the American dream is becoming a nightmare. I mean, this is not our choice, it's not a conspiracy theory that the American dream is becoming a nightmare. The problem is that we are seeing another reality beyond this dream, and this reality is growing and growing. It doesn't matter what is true, what is not true. Truth, as we said, is a state of mind. The problem is that this state of mind worldwide is now changing, you know. The people don't see anymore America like the light of civilization, like it was before. I think that this actually has been a suicide for America with 9/11. I mean, by organizing their own 9/11, they suicided themselves. This is the real trouble. Because, I mean, I myself, you know, actually had my personal American dream. I mean, I was always thinking I should go there. And they killed, you know, a lot of imagination worldwide. And now this disillusion, I mean, this loss of faith, this loss of love all over the world is spreading, and like an infection everywhere. And now with the failure of the economical system, we will have a really dramatic acceleration, because with the 9/11 you have only a sphere of intellectuals, you know, who actually understand, you know, what has been going on, and they lose, you know, their faith. But now with the economical catastrophe, you will have everybody, you know, starting to challenge in their mind the usefulness of the American system. This is very bad, because, you know, I don't want somebody to think that I'm anti-American or something like that. Nothing like that, absolutely. The problem is, it will be a problem, because once you demolish, or once a system, you know, of stability disintegrates, like it's happening now, I mean, the transition to the next one will be very painful. And it's a pain that none one wants to go through, but we will have to. So actually now we have been all thinking that that system works, you know, that economical liberalism works, you know, that all the rules, you know, that in America were making America rich works worldwide. But now the system is collapsing. We discover money does not exist. We discover banks has to be nationalized. I mean, this is like in the Soviet Union. We discover the press is just lying all the time. more and more people don't believe anymore what they see on TV in the știrile, so in the news. So actually, this is exactly like in the communist system. So if the system falls down, we will be in trouble. The system is falling down, so we are already in trouble. It's very difficult because I suppose you and the listener are waiting for a solution, but sometimes the problems are real, but the solution is unknown.
Ok, dar gândește-te că poate fi un imperiu care s-a extins pe plan mondial, dar este la fel ca orice alt imperiu, Imperiul Roman, ca orice alt imperiu care se dezintegrează și știi și tu că după ce s-au dezintegrat imperiile, au crescut alte civilizații care au fost mult mai frumoase decât Imperiul.
In the long term, this is right. I think I am very optimist. I believe actually in the values of evolution. Nature learns only through catastrophes. We will have a catastrophe. Nature will learn, we will learn, mankind will learn, and the next society will be better. However, the problem is that we are in the game. We are there. We physically exist in this moment, in this space and in this time. So we will have to carry the consequences, and this is very unpleasant. So actually this is the problem, that we are personally involved. From the technical point of view, what's going on is beautiful. It's a world of illusions is now falling apart, and a new, better world of real things will emerge. Unexisting bunny, yes, unexisting bunny care nu există, disappears. This is very healthy. I mean, if they don't exist, it's better that they disappear. But if these are in our pockets and they disappear, we will be very unhappy. I am very unhappy. Personally, I'm thinking how I should avoid my bunny to disappear. It happened in the past. There has been centuries ago, they were trading in the stock market Hollandish tulps, I don't know how it's called, flowers. It was very famous. They were trading, making money on these flowers of Holland, even after the flowers of Holland stopped to exist. So there were people buying and selling, promised to buy flowers that didn't exist anymore. But now we are in the same kind of things, only 1 billion of times bigger, It's it's very good, very healthy that the system collapses, but not for us, which are there to carry the consequences.
Aici mai avem o problemă. Colapsează un sistem în clipa asta în care resursele se epuizează. Nu? Știm că petrolul dispare. Știm că alte resurse minerale sau alte resurse ale pământului încep să se împuțineze sau să-și reducă calitatea. Ce mai poate ieși după aia, după ce cade Imperiul, când nu o să mai aibă cu ce supraviețui?
Asta se rezolvă bine cu război mondial mare care omoară jumate din și o epidemie ca influența aviară și atunci cu asta se reduce populația. Adică și asta nu va fi foarte distractiv. I say it on Romanian just to get more to the message, but the point is we will have probably a population reduction either through a war or through an epidemic or through more epidemics. And this will be the catastrophe. We may discuss if this catastrophe is natural, if this is induced, but if there are not resources for all, then the resources cannot grow, so the population has to go down.
Crezi că există un scenariu în sensul ăsta, să se distrugă populația ca să poată supraviețui o altă parte?
Cine știe? I'm afraid such a scenario exists, but I hope deeply that I'm wrong, even if this could be very useful for mankind.
În cartea ta vorbești despre gripa aviară, vorbești despre antraxul din America și sugerezi niște lucruri.
Yeah, well, actually, I was foreseeing the influenza aviara 10 months before it appeared. I didn't call it like that because I didn't know which format. Actually, when the SARS appeared in the SARS, the severe acute respiratory syndrome, something like that, appeared in China, I was very skeptical about the true nature of that. An epidemic which appears and then disappears. There were a lot of scientists that were raising doubts about the natural genesis of this virus. And I was supposing that if this was, just a bioeconomical warfare episode, we would probably see something else very soon again, coming again from animals and something like that. And actually it came 10 months later, the grippe aviaria, who appeared and then traveled through all the Middle East until our countries. Then it arrived theoretically in Romania, but it just forgot to go to the Delta, because actually, you have a grippe aviaria, actually is a virus who fucks, the birds, and he doesn't go to the biggest brothel of Europe, which is for a virus, the Delta of the Danube. I mean, you have all the birds of Europe there, and the virus just takes the wrong way and goes to a little village where actually it kills just a few animals and everything things, and then it appears in France, in Italy, in Greece, and in Germany, and all the newspapers say, we don't really know how it arrived to Germany, but it's there. We don't really know how it fucking appeared inside, at this building, in France, but actually it's a trailer, it's typically a trailer of something going to happen. Then you have the scientists who promise us it will change into a form that will destroy mankind because it will infect people. How can they know? This certainty of the fact that there is an inevitability in this pandemic, it's really, really scary, because usually the only person that can be sure that something will happen is the one that has prepared and planned it and designed it. So, I'm not very optimistic about that. I think that this can be our next entertainment toy.
Ok. Crezi că oamenii de știință în clipa de față sunt corupți pe direcția asta?
Puțin, niște oameni de știință. Just some of them. Some of them, it's a matter of natural selections, at the top of probably the highest organizations, you don't have the best scientists. You have the scientists which are more suitable, to obey, to people. There is, for example, also for September 11, you have two kind of scientists. The one who actually say that the official version is true, and the one who actually say that this is wrong. However, if you look, the two groups are very different socially. The one who say that this is true are the people which official roles, big salaries, and big money, to affirm that. While the other one are scientists which has been retired and scientists who has nothing to lose. So actually you see that for the career you have always people who would prostitute themselves up to saying the contrary of what they believe, thus betraying completely their scientific vocation. There is somebody, a famous scientist, Stephen Jones in America, who actually has made a lot of noise over the internet by proving, that the Twin Towers has been demolished with a controlled demolition and they didn't fall apart by themselves. He's a scientist. He was a respected scientist. Had to retire after that. He declared that and he proved that, and you can find on the internet everything about him and even the videos of his conferences on the subject. And actually he has made it a very good point when he actually said, that there are two ways, to establish truth, scientific truth. You have the scientific method and the political method. The scientific method starts from the facts and creates a theory which connects the facts, while the political method starts from the conclusion and looks for the facts that prove that conclusion. If you look at the 9/11 Commission report, which many people has renamed the 9/11 Omission report, you will see that actually only the facts that could support the official version has been included, and all the facts, and there are so many that actually prove that the official version is wrong, that has not been included. I mean, you have hundreds and hundreds of witnesses, people who were there in the moment, who were in the towers, that witnessed it a lot about many explosions which were going on in the towers before the collapse, you know, which were explosives which were going on in order to prepare for the demolition. I mean, they didn't pop up in the 9/11 Commission report. I mean, they don't exist. They have even wrote a lot of letters, appeared in interviews everywhere. It doesn't matter. They are not in the official versions. So you have the reality. I mean, you can touch these people. You can go there, see them, photograph them. There are films, there are videos. There are videos made by the CNN on the day of the event. So it had been aired. It has been put on television on the same day, and everybody can check it and watch it again. And these people, there's no reason to lie because they were there. They are still full of dust from the collapse, and they would never die by telling what they saw and they heard, and they were all witnesses. Explosions. This explosion don't exist in the official version. It's just this little detail which should make suspicious every intelligent person. I mean, why don't they put it inside? If there is nothing to hide, why don't they speak about that? I mean, if they don't speak about that, it means that it is very bad for them to, because then they have to explain what these explosions were, and they cannot with their versions. That's very simple. So now we have this state of the things. You ask, are the scientists corrupt? Some of them, unfortunately, yes. So you have to pay very much attention to whom to listen to, and you have to ask yourself, what does this person gain by saying that to me?
În legătură cu situația din clipa de față, cu criza financiară, în raport cu 11 evenimente de 11 septembrie, cumva o să-ți treacă prin gând să scrii o carte despre criza financiară?
Numai dacă cineva me plătește bine. No, I spent too much time to write this book about September 11, the myth. It's 500 pages. There's, I don't know, 200,000 words, 300,000, I don't remember. It's very big quantity of words. It took me years of work. I didn't gain anything of that. I just do it because it was important. I will not write another book now unless somebody makes me a very good contract in the beginning. No way.
Altceva?
Altceva, da, pot să faci, scrie altceva. I was writing science fiction most of the times, so I will go back to science fiction. Actually, after the September 11 book, I already wrote a beautiful book, completely different, with Ian Watson, which is a British writer, British author, very well known and very appreciated by the critics in Great Britain. And the book is called The Beloved of My Beloved, and it's a book about love and sex, and everything in the future is very strange and mad and crazy. And this will be published in England just in the next weeks. So actually, when the people will see this video, probably it's already on the market. So I just went back to my best feature. Actually, I am a science fiction writer. I like to imagine things that are not but could be. And if I worked on this particular argument about the September 11 myth, about the September 11 tragedy, and all the implication and all the sociological madness, you know, which comes from that, is only because this time reality has really turned on to be more crazy, more mad, more bizarre than any science fiction written ever. So in this case, it was my philosophical duty. I had, you know, to step in and to remark this amazing reality, because no science fiction writer could have written something like that and being held for credible. So,
spune-mi un lucru. Insula de la Atlantic Run.
Da.
Pe insulă poți identifica oameni care să se gândească la un alt tip de societate?
E un pic mare spus, asta răspund direct în limba română, nu vorbesc prea bine, trebuie cer scuze pentru asta. Da, insula dell'Atlanticron, che este o experiență că fac în fiecare an, că sunt invitat acolo, că e o experiență foarte interesantă, sunt lumea foarte deșteaptă, este o selecție de elevii cel mai dotate și interesant din România.
De fapt, vreau să aflu ce înseamnă pentru tine insula.
Eu nu vreau să-l pun prea filozofic, adică când merg acolo, mă odihnesc foarte bine, nu știu, am conversații plăcute, când lume plăcută, viața plăcută, acolo lume plăcută și atunci eu mă simt bine. Și asta e tot. Și după putem să discuta, acolo se creează o nouă lume, acolo nu știu ce. Asta sunt vizule, poate intenție, poate ceva de adevărat. Eu nu știu, eu știu că mă simt bine. Și dacă mă simt bine, eu trag concluzia că ceva e bine acolo. Adică e foarte ușor modul de gândire în acest caz. Nu vreau să prea intelectualizez senzațiile mele. Nu? Dacă mă simt bine, eu de obicei sunt greu de să mă simt bine, în sens că mă plictisesc ușor, dacă lumea prostă, eu fug, nu înțeleg. Dacă acolo mă simt bine, înseamnă că este ceva de... Adică sunt mai mult de 10 ani, că în fiecare an mi se întâmplă și eu merg, că de fapt trebuie și nu mă plictisesc în niciun secund. Și atunci...
Okay. Ce poți să spui de faptul că în ultima vreme vin din ce în ce mai mulți americani?
Nu știu, asta... Fiindcă este ceva de exotic, dar nu mă deranjă. Dar tot ce adaugă niște mister e ceva de plăcut. Nu mă deranjă și am cunoscut și lumea interesantă dintre ei, adică din acești americani. Dar nu numai americani, au fost foarte mulți străini, a fost și cineva de la Rusia și de la Asia, de la Filipine, și atunci fenomen deosebit, dar plăcut.
Totuși, 2008 a fost primul an în care cineva de la Ambasada Americii a venit în tabără.
Da. Adică eu nu am nimic împotriva Americii.
Da.